Green here. Good morning, Emmanuelites. It's my turn to do a thought for the day. So I thought I would speak from Isaiah 40, which is one of the greatest passages about God's character, in my arrogant opinion. I'm going to read verses 12 to 18 quickly because of time, but do go back and read it for yourself. The context is that the Israelites are in exile because of their disobedience, and God is offering forgiveness and restoration. Basically, they can go back to their homeland. Understandably, they need some reassurance as they are under the captivity of a powerful empire. So God, through his prophet Isaiah, speaks of his surpassing greatness. Verses 12 to 18. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and marked off the heavens with a span, and enclosed the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scales, and the hills in a balance? Who has directed the Spirit of the Lord, or as his counselor has instructed him? Whom did he consult for his enlightenment? Who taught him the path of justice? Even the nations are like a drop in the bucket, and are accounted as dust on the scales. The isles like fine dust. Lebanon will not provide food enough, nor are its animals enough for burnt offering. All the nations are as nothing before him. They are accounted by him as less than nothing and emptiness. To whom then will you liken God? So, did you notice some of the details there? Our God can hold all the waters on the earth. That's 326 million cubic meters of water in the palm of his hand. How much can I? About a teaspoonful. Okay, that's a lot of water, but the universe is bigger, right? One estimate is that it's 93 billion light years across. So if light travels from the sun 90 million miles away to the Earth in 8 minutes, that's how quick light is, how far do you think light travels in 24 hours? Or a year? Or a billion years? Or 93 billion years? A long way. That distance, the size of the universe, he spans with a handbreadth. But Isaiah's next illustration of God's greatness is more staggering. He says, if you were to sacrifice all the animals in Lebanon, on all the wood from all the trees in Lebanon, as an offering of praise to God, that would not be worthy of him. Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were an offering far too small. Perhaps the hymn writer was not exaggerating. In fact, our God is so pure that the angels in Isaiah's vision, a few chapters earlier, chapter 6, even though they are sinless, cannot look on him, because his holiness is of such an order, such a magnitude, that perfect moral purity alone is not enough. He's so powerful that in Genesis he creates the whole universe with his mere speech, yet so gentle in Jesus that he will not break a bruised reed. He's so just that he must punish our sin with hell, and yet so merciful that he'll take all of that punishment onto himself in his Son. He's so kind that he accepts our first faltering baby steps of faith, and so severe that he will put us through whatever suffering is required to make us perfect like him. He's so majestic that he can listen to 1 billion prayers at once, and so personal that he can relate to each of us as if we were the only one in the universe. He sustains all things by his word, even his enemies. He doesn't need to oppose his enemies to defeat them. He merely needs to withdraw his help, and they will cease to exist. Even as they oppose him, he turns their plans against them, and for our good, making those who consider themselves his opponents, his unwitting servants. He's so clever that he can answer the Pharisees' unanswerable questions, and yet so simple that he can enjoy the company of children. He's so creative that all things that are were God originals. He's so assertive that he'll walk resolutely to the cross and face down sin, Satan, torture, and death that assertive, yet so full of self-restraint that he postpones his judgment and offers mercy even as they crucify him. And in the fellowship of the Trinity, he is infinitely happy and totally satisfied. He creates us not to gain a love that he lacks, but to share the love he already has out of the overflow of his infinitely happy being. He is so satisfying that despite the beatings, the imprisonments, the rejection, the torture that the Apostle Paul suffered, he felt it was all entirely worth it. In fact, not a second thought was required. How much is he worth to you? How can you reorganize your life around the dominant priority of knowing, enjoying, and pleasing this God? What would it mean for you in your unique circumstances? Will you respond with the sacrifice of Abel or with the tokenism of Cain? Have a great day, guys.